Hey guys, this is the Cartier Tank Louis in rose gold. I just picked this up a couple months ago, so I'm going to talk about my first impressions so far. I will try not to blab too much and just let the watch speak for itself. Only thing I'll say as far as a brief intro is just that this was my first serious watch purchase. Right here is the Cartier Santos, and I wanted to add something leather to the collection. The Tank Louis came to mind, but I didn't know if I wanted to double up on Cartier. So I ended up going with the JLC Reverso at first, and I liked the watch a lot. But long story short, one day I was able to try this on at a Watches of Switzerland, and simply put, I just liked it a little bit more. So for starters, the case shape. I mean, that's obviously what makes the Tank, right? And it's the same thing I liked about the Reverso, that it has both these watches, both those watches have a unique case shape. And that's the first thing that I notice about it. And there's so many round watches out there, and to have something that stands out, I think is just really cool. It catches your eye right away. And the Tank design is just, I know this word gets thrown out a lot, but it really is iconic. I mean, it's been around for over 100 years. And like I said earlier, this is actually the 100th anniversary edition of this watch, which I think for a watch that has, a legacy like the Tank Louis, 100th anniversary actually means something. I think it's really cool. Yeah, so what you're getting with this 100th anniversary edition that you don't get on the other Tank Louis models is, first of all, I think the biggest difference really is the guilloche pattern on the inner dial, which I think looks just awesome. I mean, it's not a big change, but at the same time, it does make a big difference, if that made any sense. Like, it's subtle, but I think it makes such a big difference. It doesn't photograph great, but in person, it really adds some flair to the dial. You're also getting a rose gold case, obviously, and then it's a mechanical movement as opposed to quartz. Oh yeah, one more thing that's actually a pretty big difference too is the dial on this is actually silver. It's not white. So on a lot of the previous Tank models, the dial is just a plain white or a matte white dial. But on this Tank Louis model, the dial is silver, not white. And so it does have a bit of a shimmer to it, a glisten to it, a slight sunburst effect to it, which I think really gives it an elevated look. And I didn't even know it was a silver dial till I owned the watch. I just thought it was white. But I really like the silver dial. And I know that this watch normally gets pegged as a dress watch, which it's obviously a great dress watch, but I think, so I wear this watch casually all the time, and I think it looks awesome casual. This is like my go-to casual watch now. I wear it with, t-shirt, sweatpants, joggers, things like that all the time, and I absolutely love how it looks in that setting, so it's more versatile than you might think. So I'll briefly address sizing and fit. There's a lot of talk about fit for this watch. I know some people think it's too big. I've heard some people think it's too small. I mean, the bottom line is it depends on your wrist size, obviously. But for a majority of wrist sizes, I think it's a really good size. So if you have a really big wrist, over 7¼ inches, it might be too small. And if you have a tiny wrist, then yeah, it might be too big. I mean, for example, I'll show you this Reddit post. Yeah, so I saw this random dude's Reddit post where he tried on the small and the large, and I actually thought the small looked better on him. I did think the large, the one that I have, looked too big on his wrist, but he has a wrist that's a lot smaller than mine. So like I said, I think the bottom line for the sizing is if you are on either end of the spectrum, as far as you have a really small wrist or a really big wrist, then it might not work great for you. Like if you have a really small wrist, then this large size might be too big as far as what the kind of classic Tank look is supposed to be. I mean, it's supposed to be kind of a little bit of a more undersized watch or smaller watch. Or if you have a really big wrist, then you might find it too small. But for the average wrist size, like the majority of wrist sizes, I think it's a really good size. So closing thoughts, I really like this watch. I've owned a lot of watches at this point, and this one absolutely feels the most special to me. It's funny because sometimes you pick it up and look at it and you're like, man, this is just a little square watch, man. Why did I, spend on this just little square watch? But you put it on wrist and you're like, oh yeah, that's why I got it, because it looks freaking awesome. I think one thing that Cartier does so well is, and there's so many things about Cartier design language that, I could compliment, but I feel like they always just put the perfect amount of oomph on a watch to where it's never too much. Like there's not too much going on, but it's not too boring either. Like they toe that line perfectly. Like, and with this watch, it's kind of like a sports. I'll use like a sports cliche is, how sometimes they say like a football team is, the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. It's like, again, you look at this watch like, oh, it's just a little square watch, but when you put all the parts together, like the shimmery dial, the Roman numerals, the blued hands, the guilloche on the inner part of the dial, and then with that crown, like that kind of, the Tank Louis has like the bigger, more pronounced crown. It's like just enough to, when you put it all together and you put it on wrist, like, no, it does look really special and it does stand out without it being too much. It's just like a perfect, and plus it has a rose gold case, so that already kind of speaks for itself. But yeah, man, it just really works when you put it all together and looks great on wrist. And the bottom line is, I think if you're looking for a leather watch, you would be hard pressed to find a better watch on leather than the Tank Louis, in my opinion. Well, unless you're spending upwards of $20K, that's when it starts to get, then okay, yeah, you'll have some options that are good too. But that's really all I got. Thanks so much for watching.